A very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Lauren, making headlines. Thousands of customers impacted by a major power outage, which has been described as a major blow to small businesses in Barbados. Back to school tomorrow for some students of the Frederick Smith Secondary School. The government moves to take control of a Bay Street property. And in sports, Barbados Pride continue their winning form to move 8 clear on top of Zone A in the Super 50 Cup.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
And in our top story, full restoration of electricity service was promised around 6 this evening, but there can be no guarantee it won't be interrupted again in the near future. Barbados Light and Power's Managing Director Roger Blackman held a teleconference for the media this afternoon instead of a face-to-face briefing to update the country on today's island-wide shutdown. Our Shane Jones was on that call.
Just before 7:30 this morning, the BLNP's 130,000 customers began to notice that yet again they were without power. The electric company apologized for the inconvenience caused by a fault originating at a substation adjacent to the Spring Garden power plant at 7:29 a.m. And after it was identified and isolated, restoration work began around 8:48. However, they were met by further problems.
During the restoration effort, some of our generators experienced challenges similar to what we would have experienced or encountered last week. And we have fuel equipment issues on 2 of our largest generators, which is delaying full restoration. Those 2 units are experiencing, we would have had fuel pump challenges. And we have been having discussions with our fuel supplier in relation to addressing that issue.
Mr. Blackman acknowledged public criticism resulting from the frequency of outages in recent times.
In particular, the issue that we're facing in relation to fuel, there's work ongoing to investigate and determine exactly what corrective measures need to be taken. But it is, until that is fully resolved, we are in a delicate situation in relation to that plant.
He says no timeline can be given on when the fuel contamination issue would be totally resolved and that future outages are quite possible.
A shipment of fuel is currently in that we expect will not have the contamination that we picked up on some of the previous shipments, and that will dilute what we currently have in the system. What we'll be doing, we have been managing with it for the last couple of weeks. What we will be doing is having our teams in place to be able to do the repairs very quickly and bring the units back on when they're affected.
The managing director admitted that the BLNP has an aging generating fleet.
Right now, about 50% of our generating capacity is past its book retirement age, and that certainly is a factor. That is not an excuse because we have been reinvesting in those units to extend their lives.
Mr. Blackman says there is a process for customer compensation for any claims arising from the outage. Shane Jones, CBC News.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training was forced to close all public schools at noon today due to water and power outages. Those outages impacted the preparation of meals at 2 main school meal centres, and those were in Country Road, St. Michael and St. Christopher in Christchurch. The cafeterias at some secondary schools were also affected, leading to their closure. And classes at the Barbados Community College at Erie were also impacted. And as the BLNP moves to restore electricity across the island, the Barbados Fire Service is reporting that its 311 emergency number is down. It is asking the public to call 262-4112 or 262-4120. Repeating those numbers again for you, the Fire Service 262-4112 or 262-4120 in the event of an emergency. Well, some students of the Frederick Smith Secondary School will be returning to that institution from tomorrow. Education Minister Santia Bradshaw broke the news late this afternoon after a meeting with some students, parents and staff at New Dimensions Ministries. That session also included counseling for the affected students.
We can start the reintegration of students from tomorrow at the Frederick Smith Secondary School of 2nd to 4th form students, and that will be followed by full reopening of school of all forms on Wednesday. So 1st to 5th formers will all return to the school on Wednesday. Tomorrow, the intention is that we will continue the counseling at the institution, and that will be continued with additional counseling in the weeks ahead.
Meanwhile, representatives of the Barbados Union of Teachers and the Barbados Secondary Teachers Union say some of their members are not quite ready to return to that institution. They are also critical of some of the methods to be utilized for counseling of some students.
The minister has said quite clearly that there's some people who might not be willing, and if you're not willing to go, we would advise our members, don't go.
Our position is that the 2nds to 4ths should also have been counseled off-site to prepare them for reintegration back into the school.
Government has followed through on its decision to seize the liquidation center property situated on Lower Bay Street in the city. This morning, the doors of the variety store were padlocked and police officers kept a watchful eye on that building. Officials from the Ministry of Housing were spotted on the scene after 8. Now, just over a dozen employees of the liquidation center gathered across the street and told CBC News they were left in the dark about the way forward. In an interview last night, the then owner, Mrs. Asha Merchandani, popularly known as Miss Ram, was very emotional as she said she still had several items inside.
My heart is very heavy today because I wanted to give the Barbadians who have worked with me for 60 years I've been in Barbados a nice Christmas gift of being able to give them the goods at half price and at reduced price in the kick-out sale we had at Liquidation Center. We have not prepared ourselves. We have not moved anything. Our goods are here. Our computers are here. Our invoices are here. Our deliveries are here to people who have bought from us.
Now, yesterday, the operators of the liquidation center tried to get the majority of remaining stock sold. Dozens of Barbadians tried to cash in on deals on mostly hardware items, furniture and appliances, in some cases up to 75% off the regular price. All of this as Attorney General Dale Marshall announced government's intention to take possession of the building occupied by the liquidation center.